Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I'm here with Yvette Carnell from BreakingBrown.com. How you doing today, Yvette?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing really well, and you and I were talking earlier about this very interesting viral video slash story that's kind of been going out everywhere. Apparently, there was a woman in Baltimore who saw her son out looting or being involved in the protests on some level. I don't know if he was looting or exactly what he was doing, but his mother didn't like it, and she proceeded to go upside his head and cuss him out. You motherfucker, blah, 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 fuck, and smack him and hit it. And everybody's kind of talking about it, number one, but then a lot of people are celebrating what they saw in this video. Now, um, before I guess as we jump into it, I just want to hop right into the question. What do you think about what you saw?
I mean, I didn't honestly, I didn't like it, and I don't want to blame the mother because I have empathy for her too, because I'm sure that she too was doing the best that she could for her kid. She was doing the best she could for her son, but the idea that shaming and beating a child in a public space will somehow produce a better outcome or somehow produce a better child, or encourage him against whatever behavior that he was involved in. Like I said, I don't know what he was doing. He may have been protesting police brutality. She said, I read somewhere that he was throwing rocks or something, and she saw, I don't know what she saw him on the news or and recognized him, but she came out to get him. And I've always had a motto that shame is not the door through which you get authentic change. Like, you don't get anything through shaming this kid. And it's just amazing to me that, like, now, this sort of single mother who would normally be castigated by Fox News as being, oh, look at she's a single mother, she's probably on welfare. She would normally be demonized, is now mother of the year.
I think that that praise from Fox News, the Fox News types of the world, I think part of it's racial, part of it might be cultural slash political. In that, on one hand, I think that they are just kind of, they don't like what they're seeing with the response to police brutality. They're talking about the thugs and the looting and all these other buzzwords that you hear that distract from the key issue. I mean, if you're looking for a thug, you look at your police department. That's where your thugs are at. It takes a thug to fight a thug, right? But then I see the cultural slash political backdrop in that, I've seen some conservatives who, are not racist people per se, but they believe in, traditional old school parenting. Your child gets out of line, you spank them. I remember, a white guy from the country, just a country boy, wrote this book about, spanking a child. I think it was called to Train Up a Child or something like that. And I met him, and it was real interesting because, he just said that his perspective is that if you want to discipline your kids, sometimes you got to spank them. He said, I don't beat my kids, but I will spank them because I think that that kind of discipline, I don't call it abuse, but that kind of discipline is appropriate for raising kids. Now, do you think that, with that being said, I mean, what, is there any justification you think for this praise that's been heaped on her, say by the black community? Because you saw a lot of black mamas saying, "That's right, keep your baby out the street," and that if that was my son, he'd be getting into. I mean, what do you think about that?
I mean, honestly, I have no problem with this mother looking and seeing her son and saying, I think my son's in danger. The police are out there, they got their riot gear on, and my child is in danger. I have no problem with that. And I don't have kids, so I'm not just, oh, let the single one who doesn't have kids come on here and talk about us. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it just, I won't lie to you and tell you that my skin didn't crawl when I saw this mother, like, running up to her kid, smacking him about the head, motherfucker this, motherfucker that. That bothered me. Now, I'm not saying that like your friend says, I've never been a person who says, I wasn't spanked as a kid, but I've never been a person who says that, oh, if you spank your kid, you should go to jail. I don't agree with it, but I don't think it should be it should be a criminal offense. But I will go on record and say it's something that I don't agree with. I think that has an impact on kids. And let's think about the fact that this guy has to, now this kid, he has to live with this. Like, this is not something that just his mother went up to the school and embarrassed him. Like, he got embarrassed on national TV. His mother's on the talk show circuit now. Now, I don't know how he feels about that. You know what I'm saying? And then there's a whole nother issue here. Like, remember what you and I talked about in terms of Empire? I remember when the Empire thing came out, I didn't say much about it. But I remember you saying, look, this is Fox News. These are the same racist people that we deal with every day who now you're giving them money. And so this is what Fox News loves to do to us, right? They'll dog us out and caricature us all day. Every day they'll talk about how we're no good, and if we could just get our stuff together, we could be just like the rest of the Americans. They love to do that to black people. But then they'll hand black people a product and say, see, this is so great, give me money. Or they'll say, see, this mother's good, we don't hate all of you, she's doing a great job. Any other given day, Fox News would tear that woman apart for being a single mother or for not having a husband or whatever if she doesn't, because that's what I read. So any other day, this woman would be Fox News's biggest, she will have a bullseye on her head. She will be the target of Fox News. But oh, today, because Fox News cares about the rioters, and now she's mother of the year. And it's like this bait and switch that Fox, this is this game that Fox plays with us all the time. And I just really have a problem with the way in which, and even with all the other networks, the way in which this has become a story. And you'll notice that I've seen more about this woman than I've seen about, Freddie Gray's spine being broken. All these other stories just keep cropping up to take attention away from what we should be focusing on.
Mm. What I also see here, Yvette, is I see the reaction being driven by this fear of the young black male. I think that there's a perception with the Fox News types of the world that when young black males go out and do things that are illegal, it is because they're not getting discipline at home. It's because they don't have a parent who's engaged and involved in stopping them from doing these things. And so rather than really taking the time to think about the underlying social causes that lead to some of the things that they see, they just want to make it something very simple. As you mentioned, demonizing the single black mother because she doesn't have a man in the house, but they won't take the time to understand that there's 1.5 million black men missing from the black
Mhm.
community because your criminal justice system has decided to excessively incarcerate those men. Because then what they say, even in response to that, is, well, if you didn't want to go to prison, you wouldn't commit crimes. But all the studies show that we don't commit crimes more than white people do. We just go to prison more often. So
Yeah, because our community is over police.
exactly, we're over policed and we're harassed by the police, and so if you're really talking about thuggery, if you're not willing to look at your dirty cops, and I'm talking about a large percentage of these cops that just think they can go into communities that they don't understand and beat people up, throw them around, break their spines, do whatever they want without accountability, those are thugs. Those are terrorists. So we're responding to terrorism. Now, in terms of this kid, what I see as a former young black man myself, I like to think I'm still a young black man. As a former young black man myself, I can say that if I'm out there in the street in front of my boys and my mama comes in, whacking me upside the head, trying to fight me like she's a man and I'm a man and all that, I'm going to be so humiliated, by this. I mean, just humiliated to the point where nothing else matters. So I'm gonna sit in my room. I'm gonna steam about it. I'm gonna be pissed off. I'm not gonna just say, "Oh, mama, you were so right." No, I'm gonna be mad. And guess what? I'm still growing. And the next time my mama comes and tries to run up on me like that, I'm gonna remember that I'm taller than she is. And give me one second. That's my phone. Hold on. For y'all who's watching, you know that we keep it real here. That was my phone going off, so I'm about to turn this thing off. But the next time my mama runs up on me like that with her chest out, I'm gonna be like, wait a minute. I mean, I could be the man of this house if I wanted to, because there is no man of this house. So we gonna fight, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I think that what the criminal justice system has done. And again, this is me talking. Feel free to disagree, but the criminal justice system has taken away that male presence that young males need to keep them under control. Scientific studies show that male mammals of all forms, not just humans, bears, elephants, all of that, when they get that adolescent age and their testosterone starts pouring out, they need male mentors to control them, to say, no man, don't go shoot that dude because it'll get you sent to prison, or no, let's stop the fighting because that's not productive. I mean, if you see what, for example, whenever hip hop beefs go down or gangs start fighting against each other, guys like Farrakhan step in because they're respected by both sides and they can shut it down. It doesn't mean women can't have power in their own right. We know that they can, and I'm not here to talk about what men and women can and can't do, but what I can say is this: that I think that there are certain things that a man is able to do in a household that are very difficult. It's very difficult to replicate when he's not there. So With that being said, I'll let you get the last word. And feel free to agree or disagree. And,
Well,
and
well,
but
here's,
I think that the lack of presence of a male in their household, it's not the end of that. She won the battle, but she's not going to win the war.
here's the thing. I grew up with two parents, so I'm not going to say that there's not value in having a man in the household. But there are 2 points here. And the first point you just brought up was addressing the symptoms and not the cause. That's the first point because this is what always happens in America. Now we're talking about look at those thugs destroying those buildings. Look at how awful they are to destroy property. And not focusing again on the fact that how did this man's spine get broken by police officers during an arrest? Like, how did that happen? We have not once called the police officers thug on national TV. You can't find a national news anchor to call them thugs, but we are so quick to when they kill a human being, they're not called thugs. But we are called thugs if we destroy property. That lets you know the value system in this country. That lets you know why America went to war with Britain, and it was over property. Property has always meant more in this country than actual human lives, and that's something that we've seen from slavery to the way the Native Americans were treated. We've seen this throughout history. But the second point I will make is this: you know, even if you look at someone's household and they're making $250,000 a year and she's a single mom. Let's say she's a white woman in the suburbs. Now, I'm not saying she won't have problems out of her son, but I'm saying that she will have less problems because poverty creates stress. Poverty creates a lot of dysfunction that you will not see in people who earn better money. Poverty creates a situation where you're not afraid to go out and risk your life because your life doesn't mean anything anyway. Your life doesn't mean anything anyway. What do you care if you don't have a prospect for a good job? The schools are crappy. So what? I'll go out and I'll fight whoever I got to fight. I'll do what I have to do. I'll do drugs because whatever. I'm trying to escape my situation. So I think for me, the problem in America in terms of addressing the symptoms and not the cause and access to capital. I say, there is nothing wrong with black people that an end to racism won't fix. So don't talk to me about values unless you want to talk to me about jobs, unless you want to talk to me about black people getting the same access to capital that other people in this community get. You and I have talked about hip hop, but like I say, even with that, that's a symptom. That degradation is a symptom of where they come from, and then you have the issue of who's giving them these contracts. We don't have capital. We don't have capital for a hip hop company to give conscious rappers a way to reach people. Right now, they can't even reach people. People have to go looking for that, and they do. We still do, which lets you know there's a market for it. But you have to look at the subtle ways that this community and white capitalists in our society exacerbate the problem, and they do that intentionally. And I think that's something that we have to focus on in terms of where we are.
Well, I certainly agree with you, and I think that what this young man might be going through is, you know, I think in that environment, when you're a young black male and you're dealing with not just the poverty but all the threats around you, some of which might come from other black men who are under the same stress, some of it coming from the police that you can't trust. It definitely forces you to lose your innocence at a very early age. And I think that that does exacerbate that tension between the mother and the son. The mother wants to keep her son safe, but she doesn't understand that to some extent, by being a young black male in an urban neighborhood, he has to be a soldier. He's at war. Every day when he steps out the house, somebody might be trying to kill him. So that's when you run into these conflicts where the mama says, "Baby, don't you carry that gun," but the son's thinking, "I got to protect myself." And I've seen that play out time and time again. And you're absolutely correct. If they were making $250,000 a year out in the suburbs, it would be a whole different scenario because he wouldn't have to lose his innocence at the age of 12 or 13 years old. I know a guy who got 15 life sentences in prison, and he said he's a smart guy, brilliant guy, because he sold millions of dollars worth of drugs. And I said, "Why did you start selling drugs?" He said, "Because I was 14 and we had no food in the house, and I didn't feel like going to school was that was a good long term option, but my short term need was I had to pay the bills because I was the man of the house. And
Mhm.
I went out and I became the man of the house by earning enough money to feed my family." So when men are going to those situations at an early age, that kind of stress, it does change your DNA. spiritually, socially, psychologically, and otherwise. And once again, I think in this situation, I just saw that just as a very unfortunate clash. This mother's doing everything she can do based on what she's seeing in front of her. She wants to keep her baby safe, but her baby's doing everything that he feels he can do because he's in a society where there are threats all around and he has no voice.
Mhm.
So I understand why the mother went off and tried to do what to protect her child.
Mhm.
But I also understand why that little dude was throwing rocks. I'll be throwing rocks too. It's like F you. You gonna up here call me a thug, and these thugs coming to my neighborhood breaking spines on people, and y'all ain't even talking about that? No, somebody's gonna have to die at that point. We're gonna have to fight. We're gonna have to fight because you already killing us. You've already killed me. You've aborted me from your society. You've aborted me in every way you can abort a human being. So at this point, I have nothing else to lose. So why don't I? You've taken everything from me that's valuable, so I'm gonna take something from you that's valuable. That's the mindset that I think a lot of these kids feel, and anybody who blames them for this, they obviously don't understand what they're going through. So that's
Very
it.
true. Very true.
Okay. All right. I don't know. Did I get the last word? I didn't. I really thought I was giving you the last word, but sorry.
No, no. I just want to say. I just want to say. I think you're right in terms of people say why are they in the streets and why they do this. I just want to. The one thing I want to drive home is that this is what people do when they feel like they have nothing to lose. A lot of these behaviors. Now, I'm not talking about the protests. We understand why the protests are happening, but when people are quick to go to the streets, when people are quick to find solace at the bottom of a bottle or with a drug or something, a lot of that happens because there's nothing to lose anymore. A lot of people who don't do that, you wonder why white kids will listen to hip hop and then not go out and hurt anybody or not sell drugs because they have something to lose. They have a future. What you're seeing with a lot of black kids, especially in these urban communities, is that they don't have a future and their behavior shows that. You see that in that behavior. So I just think we need to really focus on that instead of don't let the news media push us into a place where we're focusing on the symptoms. Oh, look at the
Hmm.
black people rioting. Oh, look at that mama. Look at this. No, the real issue is that a man was being arrested and the police broke his back. That's the story, and we need to focus on that.
Right on. Don't talk to me about no looting unless you're gonna talk about the injustice first. Because if you solve the injustice problem, the looting problem does not exist. Right, and that's
Exactly.
basically it. That's where the conversation needs to start and end with the officers who broke Freddie Gray's spine and killed him. That those are the thugs. Let's solve that mystery first before you get into worrying about who burned down the CVS. Because when it comes to comparing it to human life, there is no comparison. So thank you very much, Yvette. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. This is Miss Yvette Carnell from BreakingBrown.com. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. And do not forget that we have a new film out called Resurrecting Black Wall Street about the Black Wall Street Massacre in 1921. You've got to see this film. I hope you will support it. You can check out the trailer at resurrectingblackwallstreet.com. That's resurrectingblackwallstreet.com. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.